Hey YouTube, what is up? I did actually win the next great Yu-Gi tuber thanks to all you guys' help. This video is actually being filmed with my better camera, and that's why I'm thanking you guys in this video. You can actually see the change that you guys made in my channel. It's actually getting better. The clarity of this camera is actually fucking fantastic. So thank you guys for all your help, and anybody that voted for me in this video, I greatly appreciated it. You know, being the next great Yu-Gi tuber is great, and it's not, you know, only about getting a better camera. Actually, I'm forced to make better videos now as a result of that. So I'd like to thank you guys for that. I also coincidentally hit 1,000 subscribers a couple of days ago. I did realize that, you know, I'm not gonna, you know, just ignore that kind of thing. I'm gonna do another video addressing that specifically. I'll probably do a giveaway or something like that, so keep an eye out for that in the future. But this video specifically is going to be me talking about the Dark Side of Dimensions movie. I saw it twice. I saw it once at the premiere, and I saw it again a couple days ago. The second time I saw it, I took some notes, so I actually wanted to discuss the movie. Now, this video is gonna have some spoilers in it. I don't want to, you know, ruin the movie for you guys, so if you want to see the movie without, you know, any inkling of what's gonna happen in the movie, don't watch this video. But if you want like an honest opinion of the movie before you go see it, you know, by all means watch this, but just know there are going to be spoilers. I'm not going to ruin the whole movie, but I am going to talk about things that do happen in the end, so be careful. So first off, the one thing that I noticed about this movie is that the comic relief for it was absolutely fantastic. That's just the best way to put it. Joey and Tristan were huge comic reliefs. Like, the jokes that they had kept the movie going. It made it feel smooth. It helped with the pacing a lot. If you don't know what I mean by pacing, the movie didn't feel like it dragged at any point. And when it started to get to lower points, you know, Joey would crack a joke or something like that. It would, you know, cheer the audience up a little bit, and then the movie would kind of smooth into the next point. They used the humor a lot, and I'm actually surprised to say this, but one of the funniest characters in this entire movie was Seto Kaiba. He was hilarious. There's jokes where he talks about, you know, Atem's perfectly coiffed hair because he had to make a clone of him, or I guess a hologram of him, and that was the hardest part to recreate, was his perfectly coiffed hair. And he crushes a water bottle after beating Atem, the virtual Atem that is, and then he fires the guy that made the water bottle so easy to be crushed because Kaiba Corp water bottles shouldn't crush this easy. The jokes that are in this movie were fantastic, well placed, and I think they hit, you know, the type of humor to a T. My girlfriend, who really doesn't understand Yu-Gi-Oh besides watching it as a kid, even found the humor funny. I guess it's like, the best way to explain it is it's self-deprecating humor. It's not jokes that are very specifically Yu-Gi-Oh related, but if you watch the movie, even if you have no clue about what happened in the show, you know, 15 years ago or anything like that, you'll still get the humor. It's not based on your knowledge of Yu-Gi-Oh! It's basically observational and self-deprecating humor, which I actually appreciated. It made the movie easier for people to get back into, and I think that that was a smart choice on their behalf. And on top of the humor, the movie actually had a very good nostalgic feel. The characters reminisce about their old times, about their decks. You know, Joey says that Red Eyes got him out of more struggles than he could count and stuff like that. So it's really cool to see them reminiscing about the past, but the one thing I specifically liked is that they also talked about the future. We've seen these people go through some crazy shit in the fucking, you know, high school time that they're supposed to have been in, and, you know, people have died, people have, you know, gone to the afterlife. Yugi's channeling a fucking, you know, ancient Egyptian pharaoh, for God's sake. So it's cool to see how they're actually thinking about their lives, because there's a, you know, a scene where they're on the roof talking about their futures, and they all discuss what they want to do. Yugi, you know, being the king of games pretty much now, wants to make his own game, and they all want to get back together and play Yugi's game once he makes it. Joey doesn't actually say what he's going to do. He just makes a joke about it being like a wrestling dummy for one summer or something like that, then puts Tristan in a headlock. Tristan himself is going to work for his dad, and Taya is going to America to be a dancer. I don't even think Bakura was on the roof at that point, or if he was, I don't remember, to be honest with you. But, you know, they talk about what their plans are for the future, which makes them seem more human as opposed to just, like, you know, some crazy anime protagonist. They're actually thinking about their lives past the point that they're actually in right now, which is really cool. And I guess it sets up some things in the future. Maybe Yugi makes his own game. That's a spin-off for Duel Monsters or something like that. But I like the way that they actually wrapped up the characters. And speaking of characters, the villain in this movie, the protagonist, not the protagonist, the antagonist, Agami or Diva, whatever you want to call him. Agami is his name in, I guess, Japan, like his pseudonym, but his real name is Diva. Agami is like the best villain I think the Yu-Gi-Oh movies have ever had. He's like a fantastic villain. I'm actually very sad to see that he's only going to be a villain for this one movie. I enjoyed his character a lot. He actually had very clear motives. His, you know, background was really understood. You knew why he was doing what he was doing, not just because he's an evil spirit from ancient Egypt or anything like that. Basically, Shadi Shin, which is like, you know, a guy from the show, if you ever watched the show, was his master. And Bakura, as a kid, when he was possessed by the Millennium Ring, killed Shadi, and then that makes Diva want to, I guess, redo the entire world with the power he got once Atem left this world. He gets basically the ability to remake the world any way he sees fit. And because Shadi Shin was killed by Bakura, he's kind of in like a revenge mode, and he basically is corrupting himself And I really liked that. It was really clear why he was doing what he was doing. And even though the other characters that were, with him, the other Plana, which is like his group of weird glow-eyed children that have the power to change the world, everybody else that was with him, it was really cool to see like the group dynamics they had with that, because there were some that agreed with him, you heard it in the crowd, or some that disagreed with him. His sister even disagrees with him and helps Yugi to stop him. And it's really cool to see like the politics of what he's doing. And it's just, they really thought the background out of the character. And it's just that they really thought his background out well, and they planned it out well and explained it phenomenally well. And his voice acting is fantastic. Even when he's younger, they do a really cool audio effect to, I guess, show that it's him when he's younger. They have him say a line in his normal voice, and then it kind of modulates down, and then he's in the past. The transitions and the voice acting were fantastic, and I'm really sad to see that this is just, for the movie. I hope his character continues maybe in some other way. He obviously is alive at the end of the movie, so there are some cool ways that they could, I guess, bring him into the future of Duel Monsters. But for now, I'm just disappointed that he's not continuing more. That's how good of a villain he was, and that's how much I liked his character. And something else I liked is besides Agami, there are actually, other villains. I guess the main villain besides Agami is literally the Millennium Ring that Bakura wore as a kid, or had, I guess, in the show, in the anime, in the manga. I'm really, really glad that they brought back the Millennium Ring and finally kicked its ass. That Millennium Ring has been causing so many problems in the Yu-Gi-Oh, universe for so long that the feeling I got when I saw them finally, defeat the Millennium Ring was amazing, because it was pretty much the one villain that was continuous throughout the show, was Bakura seemingly being a double agent and stuff like that. So I was really happy to see the Millennium Ring finally get its ass kicked. It was really, really satisfying, and I thought it was really well placed to have it in this movie as a way to kind of wrap up the characters, because now Bakura doesn't have, the trauma from his youth or the double mind or anything like that. So it's really cool how they're wrapping up the characters and how they're bringing in other villains, I guess, from the past as well. And I like how they actually even linked Shadi Shin to the Millennium Ring, so that there was a reason for the Millennium Ring to take Agami later on. It was just well thought out, and I actually enjoyed that. And just to touch on something that I mentioned before as well, before I get to my dislikes, how I talked about character growth and stuff like that, how they're actually discussing their futures before, Yugi actually kind of became a badass. There's a point in the movie where Bakura is like kidnapped by Agami, and he's in some alternate dimension, so Yugi can't get to him. And the only way he can get to him is, of course, by beating Agami in a duel. But Kaiba wants to duel Agami, and Yugi is not going to, get to duel Agami to save Bakura. So what happens is Yugi basically threatens Kaiba and becomes a complete badass. And everyone in the theater was shocked to hear it, and they were, going, "Oh yeah, Yugi, oh shit," because they were surprised that Yugi's character made such a turn, that he actually stood up for himself, because usually he just relied on Atem to kind of handle tougher things, and he would switch out and switch back and stuff like that. But now that he doesn't have Atem anymore, he actually has to handle these things on his own, and he actually becomes a badass, threatens Kaiba so he can fight Agami. He beats Agami really easily with 3 traps, which is kind of, his thing. Him and Atem always use traps that were just, perfect for the exact specific scenario that they're in, and he is able to win, and he saves Bakura. And it's really cool to see that kind of payoff where Yugi's character developed into kind of a badass, and it's just really cool to see. And just because I like this movie, it doesn't mean that there weren't things that I disliked. I have a list of dislikes, and here they are. First off, in the start of the movie, when they introduce Agami as a character, they don't remember his name, and it's kind of their way as introducing him as, I guess, the antagonist. There's a scene where Yugi, Joey, Tristan, and Taya walk into their classroom. They see Agami, and they're just standing there, and it's like, "What's that guy's name? He was in our class. I can't remember it." And there was basically a 30-second scene where they just can't remember the guy's name, and they're just standing there like this. And it was a really, really forced way to introduce the character to, I guess, the plot. They could have done it some other way. It seemed weird that they kind of forced that scene into it. It didn't seem to match the pacing at all. And that was the one time where the movie kind of came to a standstill for me. After they introduced Agami as a character, it made perfect sense, and it was, it was perfectly fine. But that was the one instance, the one issue that I had with that was how they introduced Agami as a character, because just having 3 people forget to not remember his name or something like that seemed kind of weird. And there were also some weird localization things that didn't make sense to me. The plot is weird because of the dub. I guess that's the best way to put it. And what I mean by that is there's certain things that just don't line up. Kaiba shouldn't know that Atem is not in the puzzle. He wasn't at the ceremonial duel where Yugi dueled Atem to see, if Atem was fit to go on to the afterlife and if Yugi could handle himself. He wasn't there. He doesn't know that Atem left this world, and throughout the movie, he knows it, but then also simultaneously doesn't know it. So according to the dub, he knows that he's not in the puzzle, but then he keeps telling Yugi to summon him in the puzzle, and then the rest of the movie where Yugi actually shows that he's not in the puzzle and he's not coming out, Kaiba's just like, no, he's scared of me, but he even knows that he's not in the puzzle, so some of the plot points just don't line up because of that. It's kind of odd, and he also shouldn't have been able to summon Obelisk, but they touch on that in the show, so maybe it was like a product of Kaiba's technology, because the God cards left with Atem, they even mention that in the movie, and then Kaiba summons Obelisk, which is out of place because, you know, Obelisk doesn't exist in the dimension anymore. He's in the dual dimension, or wherever it is where Atem is like in the afterlife. So that's a little weird too, but I guess that was more of a plot device where Kaiba's technology knows no bounds or something like that, because he's able to summon any card he remembers or something like that. So I guess that's what they were trying to go with that. That wasn't really like a plot issue. It just seemed weird. And one other thing, Shadi Shin apparently dies like way in the past, according to this movie. He's killed by Kid Bakura when Bakura first discovers the Millennium Ring. But that doesn't make sense according to the anime, like the US dub, because we see Shadi after that point, which makes no sense. I was talking to Yu-Gi-Oh! Everything about this, and he said it didn't make sense either, but he actually explained it to me, and that's because the movie is set to take place after the manga in Japan. Here, it's supposed to take place after the anime. So apparently there's some key plot differences. I didn't read the manga, but that's the way it was explained to me, so I guess that makes sense, that it's not really meant to be after the anime, that they that's how they modeled the dub. But in the original version of Dark Side of Dimensions, it's actually supposed to take place after the manga. So that explains why, you know, Shadi Shin's there, why Kaiba is a little weird, because the dub didn't handle it right, and they actually placed it in the wrong part of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Timeline. I mean, and that's pretty much it for like the actual things that don't make sense. The other thing that bothered me was Duke Devlin is waiting tables, which makes no sense to me. He's waiting tables in a mall food court. I don't know why, because the guys apparently, you know, they introduce him as some filthy rich guy that invented Dungeon Dice Monsters. I think, you know, his game's getting bought by Pegasus and stuff like that. So I don't understand why Duke Devlin is just waiting tables in a mall. It doesn't seem to make sense. That's just a little personal nitpick of mine, but yeah. So that's it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions about the movie or anything like that, if you have any comments or your own thoughts about things you liked or disliked that I didn't mention, let me know in the comments down below, and I'll gladly, you know, reply to you guys. And keep an eye out for that 1,000 subscriber video I'm going to be making. I'm doing a giveaway of some sort. I haven't decided on what I want to give away yet. Maybe something from the new set, maybe one of the Zodiac secret rares if I can get my hands on one. So we'll see.